Well, thank you both for joining me here for our COVID Q&A for the St. Louis International Film Festival.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. And you guys are in two different places.
We are.
Where are you coming from today?
I'm in Vancouver. I just wrapped the job, so I'm getting ready to pack up and rejoin Annika soon.
Yeah, and we live in LA, but it's in typical 2020 fashion here, we haven't been in LA for a while. I'm with family in Seattle, and Rich is working in Vancouver, and we're just taking advantage of the fact that everything's happening over Zoom and we can be anywhere.
That is the case for sure. Well, thank you for virtually being in St. Louis with us right now at the St. Louis International Film Festival. And this program is special to me. It's our first time filmmakers, new filmmakers forum program. Usually we're all together and we do like a camp-like weekend, all seeing each other's films and bonding. So I'm missing that part of it. But I'm hoping you guys will get to see the other films as well in the program.
So
we're really excited to see them. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you guys are married. I didn't know that when I first started watching the film, but now I know you are.
We are married.
Yes. And you directed your wife in the film, and she wrote the film, and y'all produced together. Yes. That's a lot.
And then Rich edited the film. I have to add this part because I think this is the most impressive part, considering that we're still married, is that Rich edited the film in our very small home office space with me like hovering over his shoulder. So, yeah.
It was very helpful. You lose perspective sometimes, so it was very helpful.
Helpful? That's a good word. Awesome. I was like, no more pressure. She's not only your wife, but she's the actress over your shoulder. Awesome. Well, can you, let's start at the beginning. Where does the story come from for you?
So I wrote it I actually had this idea many, many years ago. I was like 21 years old and I was subletting an apartment from this old woman in Manhattan. She was like a snowbird. She went to Florida for the winters and she was showing me around her apartment. It was very cheap. And she had a yellow legal pad that she'd like handwritten a lease on. And at the very end, like right before I signed, she said, unless you want to agree to help kill me when I'm ready to go, in which case you could have the place for free. And like, yeah, so I I laughed and it was, I signed it and I paid her. But I don't know, she never like left my head. I just always thought that was the most strange and interesting thing to say, even if you were joking, like it came from somewhere truthful. And it made me start thinking about end of life back then. And at the same time, my grandfather was dying very slowly of a degenerative disease that killed him just over many, many years. And I found myself asking myself, like, if he knew it was going to get this bad, would he have let it go on? And what choices do we have at the end of our life? So I always wanted to write this movie, this like Right to Die movie that wasn't tragic, but instead could celebrate having autonomy over the end of your life. And I did a play with Jenny O'Hara in 2008 and just fell in love with her. She's such a phenomenal actress.
So good. So good.
She's so good. And yeah, and I think it was really meeting her that made me feel like I had to write this. And I told her back then, I want to write this film. I want to make it together. And she was like, sure, kid, go for it. And it took me like 10 years to, well, actually probably took me until I met Rich, and he was like, you're a writer. You just need to sit down and do it. And I did. And we put the pieces together. And anyway, that's how it came together. I went back to Jenny and said, remember when you agreed to do my movie? And here's the script. And we were on our way.
Awesome. So how long of a process? When did from script to kind of?
It was about a year to write, I think, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. And then, the process to get it made, once the draft is written, I think we did a table read at the house, and we had some friends come over along with Jenny and read all these really wonderful parts. And I think we left that afternoon feeling like super confident that, okay, well, this is great. Let's try to get it made. But, the next step was financing, and I think we're good filmmakers. The financing part of it is tougher than it looks. But we brought on a couple of producers, Richard Kahan and Angie Gaffney. And Angie hooked us up with these wonderful producers called the Chicago Media Angels out of Chicago. And, pretty quickly after we pitched it all, right, Annika, it kind of happened all very fast.
Yeah, they're an amazing investment company. Their entire mission is to support independent filmmakers. They have quarterly pitches, so you fly out, you stand in front of them, you do a presentation, and they really responded to the story, and they came on as our sole investors. So we got very lucky in that their mission was entirely to support this film and support us, financially, and they didn't want to interfere with the creative process, and they've been incredible partners.
I think we pitched. It was 2 weeks later. We found out we were financed, and a month later, we were in a car headed to Chicago prepping.
That is absolutely how it happened.
Wow, that's crazy. Was it always set in Chicago, or did you adapt it for Chicago?
No, so I had actually written it for Seattle, where my family is, because I could picture it while I was writing, and Oregon is a right to die state, and one of the issues in the film is there are certain states that allow people to end their lives in this very dignified way, and states that don't, many states that don't, and so it was really important that we film in a state that where you couldn't, for the storyline. So I wrote it for Washington, knowing Oregon was close by. And when we went out to pitch to the Chicago Media Angels, part of their mission is to bring film to Chicago. And we knew that we weren't going to find a better talent pool than Chicago. So it didn't take much to convince us to do a rewrite, to film it there. And we're really thrilled that we did.
And I think it made it for a better movie ultimately. I think, it was the right move.
Yeah, it was.
Cool. How long of a shoot?
We did 17 days, and then 2 days of kind of second unit work where we did the actual road trip up to the Upper Peninsula. And then we did a half day back in California for these flashbacks. So
Great. That was fast. The writing, not as fast. Everything else, super fast.
Yeah. I definitely didn't write a script super conscious about the budget we were going to shoot it on. So there were, I think, what were there, 30 locations or something?
There were 30 locations in 17 days.
Yeah.
Wow, that is ambitious, you guys.
It was. I give all the credit to Rich, who works in television and came from music videos and was just used to,
Well, I give the credit to the actors who, including Annika, who are so prepared, and to my cinematographer Jessica Young and our AD Jen Wilkinson, who comes from big budget TV shows, and she's just, without Jen on our team, we wouldn't have made our days. She really made it happen.
It was beautiful.
And
yeah,
I was gonna say, Jessica also, really never took the camera off her shoulder. And had we been setting up, she, that we could shoot so quickly because you guys were just so mobile.
Awesome.
And Jessica and I have a shorthand. I've known her for 20 years. We went to film school together, and she shot a lot of stuff for me. So we just had a nice shorthand that helped move quickly.
You both do a lot of television work. How was it, the transitioning into a indie feature? What were the differences, some of the differences for you?
Well, for me, I think as a TV director, you're a cog in the machine, and you're working to help somebody else's vision come to fruition, and trying to add that bit of creativity that doesn't stray too far away from the tone, but yet at the same time you get to put your stamp on it. So that's always a tricky balance, I think. But in film, it's we were the deciders. We could figure out how we wanted. If I wanted to sit on that shot for 3 minutes, I'm going to sit on that shot for 3 minutes, and it was a liberating experience to go through it all and figure out what worked, what didn't, and I think we just had a lot of fun doing it. It was a blast.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing, for probably the thing I'm proudest of walking away from it, is that after working as an actor for about 20 years, and I have done a lot of indies as an actor and also television, and I started in theater, and I feel like I've worked on every budget level and all that stuff, but you spend so much time, like Rich said, sort of as a cog in the machine. You spend so much time observing the way other people run sets, and learning from both the good stuff and the bad stuff, and thinking, gosh, there have to be better ways to do some of these things, and more humane ways to do some of these things. And I think to me, the thing I'm proudest of is that we created a really nurturing, creative environment, and it was a small crew, it was a short number of days, and it was fast and furious. But I hope everybody would say they felt really respected and involved creatively. You know, like our little crew was just, I can't imagine doing it without any one of them. And I think in those bigger sets, people get lost on the sidelines, and everybody was so vital to the process, and that really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, totally.
Have you gotten to see it at all with an audience yet? I know COVID, right? What's the deal?
We did one screening in Chicago where we did get to see it with a
Yeah.
small audience, right? A cast and crew screening. But that's really the only time we've had to be with an audience with it, which is because you dream this whole time. It's like, oh, we can't wait till we get it in front of people. We can hear them laugh and cry and all that stuff.
The only groups that have seen it together are we wanted to do test screenings, but we didn't save that budget line item. We didn't have any money for that, so we were like, oh man, how are we gonna do test screenings? And my parents, who again I'm staying with right now in Seattle, who have been such like friends of this project. They actually drove to Chicago to work as our craft service, and they were on set the entire time. And it was such a lovely. I mean, you try being mad when someone's mom is giving you grilled cheese. It's like very difficult to be in a bad mood. It was a very smart move on our part. But anyway, they've been so involved from the beginning, and they ended up doing like test screenings in their living room. So we had a couple like talkbacks with friends and family being like, forget you have any connection to us at all. What do you really think? I'm sure we got very objective opinions.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't get to hear me ugly cry through the end in a happy way. It's a beautiful, beautiful ending, for sure. So I'm just sad that we aren't all together, but I know everyone is sad together. So what you said you were proud about, how the cohesiveness of everyone. What else are you proud of when you see the film? What are your other favorite parts of the film?
Well, just speaking, I think from a crew perspective, we were able to level up, help people level up. Like our production designer, it was her first feature film, with her all-female art department team, and they kicked butt. And
all-female art department team?
All-female art department team.
Yeah,
it was amazing. And they did a fantastic job on very little. They were really scrappy and got it done. Another thing I think I'm really proud of, and I think Annika is too, is and I'm gonna butcher Jordan's last name, but what is it? Arredondo. Yeah, Jordan Arredondo. He played Dylan in the film, and that was a really hard role, I think, because we wanted to be a true 19-year-old, and so I think, to like Annika was saying, we were discussing this earlier about just having an actor, not that they don't have that depth, but I think experience does a lot, right? So I think finding that actor was a little tricky, and as soon as we saw Jordan, I mean, it was no contest. He was fantastic in the role.
Awesome. Yes, he very good.
I think the other thing I would add to that is just that I obviously I said I wrote it for Jenny, and I'm really proud to have made a film where an 80-year-old is. Oh, sorry, did you lose me for a second?
Just for a second.
I said I'm really proud of having made a film where an 80-year-old is the lead. I think she's phenomenal, and I think actors only get better as they get older, and we've got a real ageism problem in Hollywood. I read a study when I was writing it that said the elderly is an endangered species on film, and I'm very proud to have given her the opportunity to do something. I mean, she's the most capable actor, but her opportunities for older actors become more and more one-dimensional and uninteresting. And so I'm very proud of that. And then to add on to that, I also want to say that 60% of our department heads were female, and we didn't go out looking for how many women can we hire. We didn't go about it that way at all. We were looking for the best people for the job, and I'm just very proud to have found that many incredibly qualified women to bring together.
There's two other things really quickly that I'm just thinking about specifically, like what just every time I watch the film, I just feel really, really happy about. And one is, figuring out the drums every time Natalie needed to pop a pill, and using that sound to drive the energy of her addiction, and her need to quench it, essentially. and so finding that and figuring out what that was, that was a bit of a process, and once we found it, it felt really right. And the other thing, my favorite moment in the entire movie is when Annika's she leaves the motel room and she's in that car and she's making the decision to go inside the store, and we just sit on her, watching that moment as she makes the decision. And again, that's a great example of, I think in a bigger studio film or maybe in television, you'd be pressured to cut away or to have another shot in there, and we just decided to sit on it, and it works really well, I think.
Awesome. The addiction issue, I mean, is that something you researched, or how did you delve into that part of your character?
Yeah, so I mean, I have addiction in my family, and it's affected my life in big dramatic ways. And so I've always been really interested in addiction. I have played addicts before, and have had a couple different times in my life where either through work or through my own personal life have ended up in meetings with people. And I find that culture to be just the only space I've ever been in where strangers are truly honest with each other. And I think it's as far as like cinematically, I just think it's such an interesting thing to explore thematically and story wise. And so, the reason I decided to make Natalie an addict as a writer was because I wanted to talk about the ways in which we can be technically alive, like our heart's beating, but we're not really living. And like that space, which I think, somebody at the end of their life that's terminally ill can live in that space. And an addict can also live in that space where they're sort of sleepwalking through their own life. And so I thought they were kind of an interesting mirror of each other. And so I did go to a bunch of open AA meetings and spent a lot of time, with a lot of people in my life who could give me insight and stuff into it. But I think the thing I was most focused on was that just the idea that you could be missing your own life and the things that kind of rob you of the things that we would all argue are worth staying alive for.
I love that how it ends with a tattoo, and it brings it that paying it forward and giving of life, actually. So that's
yeah,
cool.
Exactly. I never thought about it as a movie that was about leading towards sobriety. I just thought about it as a movie that's like leading towards acceptance, and a chance, or surrender, or whatever that thing is before you might or might not, take the steps towards sobriety.
Awesome. Well, where can people send their friends to see the film? I know it's here at the film festival, and you're doing some other film festivals online. Have you had any conversations about distribution at this point?
We're just starting.
Okay.
We have some offers on the table, but we're still exploring our options. We premiere next week. I don't know when this will be actually available for people, but we premiere on the 29th of October at the Savannah Film Festival, and then we're playing St. Louis. And hopefully we'll have more news after that. You can follow us on social media where we're posting everything. We're at Killing Eleanor at both Instagram and Twitter, and then we've got a Facebook page as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys for the time today. And I think you're going to join us. We're going to do a live stream panel with all of the New Filmmakers Forum directors. And we're going to talk about a little more into the nuts and bolts of the filmmaking process and all of that. So that's going to be on Saturday, November, I don't have it in front of me. I think it's the 21st, I want to say. It's Saturday. So we hope you'll join us back for that live stream. And we look forward to talking more about the film. Thanks again for being with us and for making this film. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye. See you again on that Saturday. Okay.
For sure.
Okay, bye-bye.